We're such idiots.
Hello.
Hello.
Evening and welcome once again to Gaming Under the Influence. I'm Mike here with my buddy Alex, coming to you on the off occasion live from Green Dragon CVR in Woodbridge, Ontario, to talk to you guys about video games.
Fuck yeah, video games live on YouTube.
Yeah.
This is great.
How are you, buddy?
I'm doing okay, man. How about you? How are you doing?
Not bad. Same as always, actually.
That's good.
The weeks are fucking
Flying by. I feel like it was Christmas last year, like, a couple months ago, and
it's horrifying.
now
man.
it's Christmas this year.
The entire year evaporated from under our
Although,
feet.
I have to say, of all the years, 2021, I'm happy for it to evaporate and, like, see you later, even though that means nothing, and really we're just going to carry on forward as everything is. But, hey, I'm trying.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't revert to the condition of previous months. Looks like that's the tendency we're heading in this province again,
yeah.
but we'll see how that goes.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, what have you been playing this week, buddy?
Honestly, mostly Battlefield and Pokemon, like I have been for the last couple weeks since they both released. They came out on the same day, and I've just been smashing that. And a little bit of Zelda, like here and there, Ocarina of Time and Skyward Sword. But Skyward Sword was not... I guess it didn't hit me as I thought it would. I don't know. So not so much of that. What about you?
Same with Adriana, actually.
She didn't really take to it
too.
either. Yeah,
That's
I
right.
don't know. Something about... I think I'm just too much of an Ocarina of Time guy.
Yeah.
Just fucking, that's like my favorite goddamn game. But
As you can see here, I started to play Nier
Battlefield,
last night.
Christian.
Again,
Yeah, Nier, yeah.
which is great.
I should
Dabbling in-
finish this one up. I made it pretty far.
You should. You're already further than
I'm
me,
further
even though
than
I was
this,
playing
yeah.
recently. But
Fuck.
I've enjoyed this game a lot in the bit that I've played. It's only been 10 hours or so. I've been playing Valheim too, of course, but
yeah.
put it down this week for a little bit to do some other work. And yesterday I felt the urge to play this one. I was in the mood for some kind of, platinum or what's the other? Bandai Namco style.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Action RPG, I guess.
Action
that wasn't
RPG
too
for sure,
punishing
yeah.
and still had some like personable world building. After some time away from those kind of games, I've softened to them once again.
Fucking
And,
two really good ones this year from
yeah.
Bandai Namco, but...
Yeah, there was Tales and Scarlet Nexus.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about going back to that because I'm right at the end, but instead I elected to play Nier, having read some stuff about its story that interested me that I had never understood before, because it all seems kind of just thrown together, really, at the front of it. Like, the gameplay is what you'd properly call a pastiche. It's just cobbled together, like, from the mechanics of other games. This whole segment we're playing here is essentially... wandering the
like
Resident Evil
fucking
mansion.
Resident Evil, yeah, that's
with
hilarious.
the door animations, the fucking slow walking. It's built just to refer to that almost entirely, right? And,
That's sick.
there's other segments where it transitions to this like isometric camera and you play
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
proper ARPG.
True, yeah.
I think this is it actually. You're going
Nier
to that
is very
segment right now.
dynamic, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a pastiche, and
Automata was like that, too.
the imagery is kind of uncertain, I would say, too. It's immediate like aesthetic appeal is unclear. Like, there's some nice art, but it's not the kind of thing that you would recognize in a pile. It doesn't have that like
Doesn't,
defining like
jump out at you. It's
defining equality like games like Souls have, perhaps, or that Death Stranding definitely had in balance.
Yeah.
But once you spend a bit of time in it, you definitely find that it does have that after all. It's just I really don't know how to characterize what it's buried underneath without making it without insulting the people who worked on this, and I don't mean that at all, right? It's just it's more subtle, I guess. It's not... We're used to, like, these grandiose artistic gestures and crazy images
like
and stuff,
that,
but it's not like that. It's more homey and, like, reminds me of, like, the AA games on the PS2, that I used to enjoy.
What engages us so much, especially with other games like Maneater and Biomutant.
Yeah, that as
stuff
well.
like that.
That
right?
as well.
There's so much out there, but...
That as well, though. I think
Especially
Maneater
lately.
definitely had that fucking
Yeah.
jump out, like, immediate aesthetic appeal to me. Like,
Yeah, I
the
guess,
imagery is very clear. Like,
True,
here it's
yeah.
uncertain what the hell the theme is, But really what did it for me was reading about this online, I really think, like, people who say single-player games don't have a community aspect. Like, buddy, so much of it is working
not
the
true,
concept out
yeah.
with other minds in this, like, synergistic fashion. But, like, Nier has really got a cool story. It's about, like, this plague that happens in the wake of the Drakengard games. Or not Drakengard. What the fuck are those other ones? You know what I'm talking about?
It was a Draken? Drakon or whatever?
No. It was... Drakengard was the ones that
With
the
the
guy made
dragon and
afterwards.
the- yeah.
Yes, but there was anyways. There's some precedent JRPG series made by this Yoko Taro guy, who's now like 50 years old. He was born in the 70s, but he made some of those series, and at the end of them, there's some like war with aliens that ends up dispersing some bacterial plague across the face of the earth, and people using magic contrived this like way to separate their fucking essences, their souls. Literally, I think that's what the German word Gesault means. That the first game is called Near Gesault,
yeah.
from their fucking bodies, which these guys are. They're replicants, right?
Right.
And they, the souls are supposed to, I don't know what the hell they do in the meantime, but they're supposed to wait out this plague and eventually rejoin their bodies using these two magical books, one of which is following your character there, right? But, turns out that these leftovers, the genetic material of people, like somehow become sentient and reject the fucking rehabilitation of those bodies, and it makes the body, the souls go crazy, and that's the shades that you're fighting throughout the game, right?
That's sick.
And that main guy is, well, fuck, some massive spoilers, of course. And the main, where you fight to entomb that fucking massive monster in the basement and save the village at the turning point in the game there, right?
Where Thing gets
where Kaine gets petrified.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. There's that guy that you see there with the wings floating in the air.
Yeah.
He's essentially your soul.
Oh, really?
The soul of your character. That was separated. Yeah, and
wow.
I think at the end of the game, in defeating him, you make it impossible for any of the souls to rejoin their bodies, and mankind essentially goes extinct.
Holy
the
shit!
Stage
really?
For the events of Nier Automata, where there's just androids left, right? Yeah.
Right.
So it's really a weird and interesting story that.
So good.
It reminds me of Xenosaga, how the first few games were just named after Nietzsche books and shit. They have this like weird fascination with German philosophy, or at least the words from it. Probably it's more it's more just it's more a mimetic, I bet you, than it is actually a deep thing, if I had to guess. But that's served the purpose fine enough, actually. Perhaps even better, because there's some stupid ideas in there. Yes. And man, it's pretty cool, this idea of. I mean, you could approach it from many angles, but it's. If it's all right with you, I think this segues well into something we're going to talk about today, right? Like,
absolutely.
Which is this idea that, and I stumbled at this idea today on Twitter, the account I probably should tag in the description afterwards to thank for the idea, but fucking that propaganda is a gesture of world building in a sense. Rather, it was framed in this manner that people who are familiar with stories and they read a lot or they play a lot of video games, perhaps in any way they engage in narratives and built worlds, they'll understand what propaganda is and fucking perhaps avoid its deleterious effects better than somebody who operates purely at the level of linear facts, right? With no appreciation of how those facts are oriented towards some defining like principle,
Yeah.
In the same way they are metaphysically in the real world, and also in something like Lord of the Rings, fucking in terms of its own inner logic and stuff like that, right? So the idea being that fucking you can't really get away from this, I guess. And when people pursue something like an end outside of the purpose of making a beautiful work, it's almost propaganda in that sense alone, right? Like Tolkien calls this, in contradistinction to fantasy or enchantment, he calls it magic or machinism, like the attempt to like engineer an outside effect. It's not about the art anymore. You're not not creating, he says, a secondary world for the artist and the perceiver to mutually enter into, for its own sake, purely artistic in purpose, he says. And this is like this Marty Tengai I usually talk about. This is what he calls fine art, right? Something that exists for its own sake, its own purpose, not for a material goal like a hammer. Whereas propaganda then would come along and say, no, man, we got some purpose to communicate to somebody. Maybe we want to make them feel something, whatever the goal may be. Even if it's a good idea, even if it's a good goal, the point is ultimately that if you're making a work of art for something other than its own beauty, especially if you're building a world,
bastardized.
If its purpose is in fact something exterior to the work, to bring about some change in the world, the domination of things or wills, Tolkien says, then what you're doing is magic or propaganda, right? Like you're or building ideology, maybe as Zizek would call it, right? The idea is no longer like that the world is fucking poured into some little black hole that exists beside it to another universe, right? It's instead like fucking the opposite direction.
Yeah, it's like sort of
you're trying to engineer something in physicality, right? It's like parasitical on the world of bodies instead of transcending those bodies, right? And I think this is an interesting dynamic, because Nier is a game that, firstly, like, this verifies fucking our idea, of course, that the guy who made this game obviously had to, whether he believes it or not, sit down and think about a clear idea of how different parts of reality relate to each other, minds and bodies and fucking future and present, And beyond that, like, it fucking, conveys his view and is explicitly about that at the same time, right? It's like this weird fourth wall shattering, like, fucking circularity, I think.
Yeah, it's weird. It's the same, obviously, vibe you get from, like you said, like a Death Stranding or something like that.
Yeah.
You can clearly sort of see the fucking like vision that they're, even if it doesn't make sense or it's fucking wacky. And that's the funny thing, like game like Death Stranding, even like Nier, they're so like out there, but you can almost just clearly see like what, you know what I mean, what they're like thinking, what they're communicating to you. Like it's fucking,
Yeah, and like, of
it's
course,
so
it's always going to
fucked.
communicate something.
Like you can feel it. Like it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's undescribable for me.
It sounds maybe like what I'm saying is like it's bad if the thing has a fucking point, but like if the point is something other than itself, I'm trying to say. If it's trying to make fucking some causal occurrence in the world come to pass, or if it's, you know, trying to convey an idea to your mind beyond its own fucking internal self, its own internal logic, then that's the sense in which I think it would be called like perverse or propagandistic or like a deficient act of world building, because really it's not building a world, it's trying to manufacture a change in our existing primary world.
What can we say for like an example, like an example of a game that does that? Like,
Well,
The
we put
Last
that
of Us
fucking
Part 2.
I think a most explicit case would be something like fucking that Battlefield JPEG
Battlefield
we were
5?
just looking at, like where
Which
you
is
know,
our thumbnail
or
for this.
even the
this
way that they
stream.
included these fucking characters in the current one. Like, what is the purpose of this? What is the?
I mean, yeah.
Actually, what is the telos of this?
You're
like,
saying
what goal
that,
could
and
this possibly
exactly,
be in the game for?
You know the answer, and
know?
it is outside causes. It's for monetary.
Yeah, like we could really
and-
speculate on
you
the
know,
finery
yeah,
of that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
surely it has nothing to do with.
But yeah,
fucking,
at the base core of the concept, you're saying, yeah,
it's
why
just-
is this there? Yes,
it's almost
yes,
redundant to ask the
it's
question of
stupid,
why.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
obviously, it's there to do something other than fucking
it doesn't
bolster
enrich
the game in
the
some
world.
capacity, right?
You know, it doesn't.
It's
yeah.
speaking to somebody or something external
Yeah.
to the text, if you will, right? Yeah. So we don't really even have to
That's
get
why
too
everyone
deep into
hates
that.
the new Battlefield, and I almost can't even argue against them.
Yeah.
but
Well, that
I enjoy playing.
though
it,
that
but
is a
yeah.
problem. It is also not necessarily core to the thing. So I
Yeah,
see why
yeah.
you might argue in its defense, but at the same time, it's a very clear instance of this at work, right? Like,
Yeah.
and whether the game is, you know, essentially propaganda or just has little bits of it attached, I mean, that's another discussion that you probably have to fucking have in greater detail than we have time for today. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, it's easy to identify that trajectory, right? Where,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in other cases, like, we can say, like, we like to talk about this in the case of Souls, and I'm sure somebody might dispute it and say, well, this is a specific kind of pandering to a certain demographic. But,
Yeah.
like, if the case is fucking made that the point is to, you know, specifically in the examples we're disparaging, it seems like you're adding fucking some allusion to an identity you perceive to be alienated from your consumer base, and you want to include them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
That's the gesture here. It's an expansiveness to the exclusion of no particular element, and its fucking obvious purpose is, just like I would say identarian politics is in all capitalist contexts, is just to, you know,
Just
purely
involve
fucking
everybody.
self-inflation of the
Yeah.
imminent eschaton, right? To bloat that internal system even further, to get
Oh, God.
anyone of any race and identity involved in, you know, the machine, so to speak.
That's
Right?
fair. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We're all welcome to spend money and work. And
It's a very clear goal that, you know, is not only at odds with whatever the inner logic of the world would be, but at odds with making a game. And many games in history have fucking been destroyed, obviously, by the competition of, you know, this desire to, you know, whether explicitly or through the avenues of identarian politics, pander to people and profit, right?
yeah. Ugh, it's so ugly nowadays.
It's really, like, not even important what the fucking goal is. If you're trying to do something when
Yeah.
you make a work other than make it good,
I mean,
in
it's
and
just,
of itself, then that's...
it's become so clearly like a divide with like, whereas when Anthem came out, I always use Anthem as an example where like you can just look at the thing and we canceled copies, like we didn't buy it, we didn't play it, you just know, right? Like, and specifically with gaming, I guess, like you can just so clearly fucking tell, and it's so like.
But like, I think it just really boils down to a simple question, right? Like, even in something like Anthem, there are parts made that are nice and beautiful. There's probably good art in it, but like the question
But when
is really
the core is fucked, you're just
who's holding the brush and who's the brush in this case? What's the instrument and who's the artist, right? Like, is the goal fucking identarian politics or profit making the art serves, or is it the other way around?
Yeah,
Like, is there
exactly.
fucking some element in the game in service of this, right? Like, whatever the message may be. And conceivably you can even have, like, you know, I mean, I don't doubt it'll never be the case in my fucking lifetime, but why you could depict anything in theory in your work as long as you put it there out of love for the form of the thing, and not in service of something
True, yeah.
external
As long
to
as
the
you're
text,
you're
right?
true and you
yeah,
stick
it's,
to
it's
your...
impossible to say,
yeah.
no, this kind of thing can't be depicted. Why
Yeah.
not? If it suits the inner logic of the world. I'm saying, though, in these specific cases, it's very clear that that's not the fucking case.
Yeah, there's a lot of pandering going on where
Yeah.
you know it's just
and it's not
to
even
serve,
exclusive to this
eh,
fucking
eh.
game, bro. It's fucking
Yeah.
just across the entire Western world. Like, you know, it's not even...
True.
the most dubious thing is that, you know, you share political causes with billionaires and fucking every rich
That's the worst
person in
part, eh?
power across the
Yeah.
globe, and you think somehow you're making
You're
a positive
aligning,
fucking
yeah.
positive contribution to mankind. It's pretty
God.
ridiculous. But, you know, I think, like, I was going to bring it back to this idea that, like, you know, the Souls games fucking seem against this very clear
Yeah, I would
impulse
say.
to just become as exaggerated and broad as possible. They seem very, like, you know,
Souls are like
pared
locked
back
down
in
there,
terms
yeah.
of who they can appeal to, right? Like
Yeah.
what the fucking mouth breathers would call gatekeeping, right?
Gatekeeping,
They're well
yes,
gate
you're
kept.
all right.
And I like
that is
gates.
what they
I
would
love
call it.
walls.
Love it.
Did I ever tell you how I love walls?
Oh, I know about your love
I
affair
fucking
with
love walls.
Yes,
and
I
walls
understand
with
it
sick gates,
entirely.
manned with like fucking molten iron to pour down on invaders and stuff like that,
Fucking
like in the old days.
line of
right?
archers just
Yeah.
ready to fire. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
some things you don't want to go up against.
Yeah, nice
But,
walls and gates. But anyways, you know,
I wouldn't call
these games have
Souls game.
well tended gates,
Yeah.
and I think
mean-
this whatever else it speaks to, like the point I'm trying to make is
Yeah, I
the
know.
gates are well tended. Like, you know, you may make the case that this appeals to somebody, perhaps.
Sure,
but
fine.
The fucking evident fact is that it totally reduces the amount of people this can be sold to,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah, definitely.
it's hard to argue it's for
Which
the sake of profit or
is-
for anybody in particular.
Yeah, it's wild that it
It's
sells
not for
as
the
much
sake of
as
me.
it does
Yeah.
because you're
It
right.
is.
It could sell.
They
a
found a
ton
way to
more,
make
but
that a
yeah.
gimmick in and of itself, I think.
I guess,
Whereas in
yeah.
the beginning they had to hide it. Now it's like kind of like, oh,
Yeah,
get
true.
good.
I love
you noob,
reading.
you know?
If anybody hasn't read a fucking like interviews from when
Yeah.
Demon Souls was being made
Yeah.
on the PS3,
They had to
they
conceal
are
the.
hilarious.
They're like, yeah, we had to like tell them, you know, it was a little bit
They
different
sort
than
of have
it
to lie to
actually was.
Sony about the decisions they're making. Kind of just
Yeah.
bend the truth a little bit to
Yeah.
push some of their ideas that they knew
Yeah.
would be too radical at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Incredible what has spawned since then. Like you would never think it, right? Like it's unbelievable.
But we've spoken before though about how like you know this doesn't exist actually to keep people out. It's not. It's
No, it's
and-
not.
And really, like
No.
you know,
It's a consequence of the fucking world, the
Yeah,
game they're designing. It's
yeah,
just
it's fun to joke about this,
it's
but at
the
the end of the day,
fucking-
like they say, you know, when you listen to the creators talk about it, that we don't think it's per se a difficult game. It's something that requires observation and patience. If you sit down and try to learn it, then you'll do it. It's not like doesn't require superhuman reflexes or effort.
which
or
is
any such
nothing
thing,
new
right?
to
Like,
gaming. I mean, the video
No.
games back in the day used to be very difficult, and
And-
for the reason because they weren't long, they had to be difficult, so you wouldn't play it for some time.
Yeah,
instead
no,
of
I
just playing
suppose
through.
maybe.
But anyway,
maybe that's closer to making to having a shit reason behind your difficulty. But here,
Sure.
I mean, like the whole reason is to compel you to understand the expressions of the things in the world
yeah.
via the means of expression, the gameplay
it's
mechanisms.
baked into the
You know,
concept.
if you
so
want to know about the
fucking
world, you have to know
overly
about
well,
it.
Yeah.
Like the same way you read a book with words. Like this is how you learn about things in the world. It demands your observation of what's being depicted in a way that if you're just waffling through something, you don't have to give a fuck.
No,
man.
you don't
How many
really get
games
the
do you
same-
put down? I'm sure it's the exact same for you as it is for me, because something just feels like it has nothing to do with you, right? You're just passively following through, and
Yeah, you're just
know.
running through a thing.
yeah, I think in those cases you're relinquished from the need to actually learn about the world via the gameplay or mechanisms, right?
Yeah,
Like-
you on like almost like autopilot.
Yeah.
I think that's why when I play like FPS games, I sort of do that. Like you just kind of go on autopilot and have fun, but in that sort of game, you don't need to take in it. Like that's what it's there for. You know what I mean? Which whatever.
Yeah.
But when I'm playing something like this, you play a Souls game, it grabs you, it really immerses you. You're fucking
Yeah.
like, then you play
I think
certain
so.
games, it kind of just okay.
Yeah,
you
that's the
just,
problem
like,
with
roll
with,
through
with
it and
action
you're
games
like,
actually. Like I think
Like,
character
yeah.
action games specifically for me.
like DMCs and
I-
stuff.
Yeah, I find that I just don't give a shit when I'm playing those games.
Yeah, that's
with the
fair.
combat. It's just.
I mean, you could also up the difficulty, but then it feels like
but
it's cheap,
that's
right?
not what it's for,
yeah,
man. You can
yeah.
tell it's not built that way, right? Like the
No.
other games, a DMC on difficult is much more difficult than a Souls game, man. And
Yeah.
it's because they've just ratcheted the systems up artificially against the inner logic of the thing, right? It's another form of thesis imposing on the thing, if you ask me, right? Like, I don't think we should have difficulty settings. We talked about this before. It's a point of
That's
indeterminacy.
what turned me
and-
off from Jedi
Yeah.
Fallen Order, only
Yeah.
because I was like,
Yeah.
should I try it on the easy and then bump it up to hard? And then I'm like, I don't feel compelled to play it on this hard mode, so turned it down, and
probably
then
the
you're
normal
not,
is the
like,
balanced
yeah,
one, right?
But there's no normal because there's 4. So there's like
Yeah,
I don't
hate
know.
that
It's
kind of thing,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just weird because obviously you wouldn't play on the first one. There's the second and third. The fourth, fuck that, because that's probably super hard. But then it's like I don't know which one feels like a Souls game. But then are you really invested enough? Because you know you can just bump it down and then it becomes too easy. I was
Yeah.
just like, I don't want to fucking.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't. I mean, it's their job as an artist to
You
impose
just don't
form
care
on
for
matter,
Star
right?
Wars. Fuck you, Christian.
Yeah.
You're partially right.
I mean, I don't either, but I would play Fallen Order if not for this, right? Like,
Yeah.
the movies are shit, but I'm sure even you could get behind some reasonable depiction of the world. It's not like it's
I mean, it's
totally lame.
probably
to,
better than
you know.
watching the movies, but
Yeah, I mean, the problem
Even
is
that,
the problem is that what they're depicting so far in the characters. I don't disagree with you. Like,
Yeah.
the movies are almost universally shit. I think I like the prequel trilogy the best, and the rest of them I just don't like at all. To be honest with you.
I don't even really have a opinion too much on Star Wars. I just never. Yeah, we're offending Christian now. Tell him Spider-Man sucks too. I mean, he's gonna
I
start
definitely
crying.
don't like Spider-Man.
He's gonna leave
But-
the chat really soon, but that's okay.
But
I'm just this stuff is just not like in my lane. I just don't really like care too much for it anymore. I don't know.
Well, in any case, I guess this hammers home the point that we can see when a decision in video game design is made, you know, arguably more for the sake of the fucking concept the guy's trying to depict, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're arguing here, Miyazaki and people who make Souls games, like, the reason they make the games difficult is to force you to understand the natures of the things you're engaging with via the mechanism the medium, you know, uses to communicate ideas, right?
Mhm.
Gameplay.
Yeah.
You know, whereas if something fucking includes an easy mode or perhaps, you know,
It's not.
I don't know how
there-
to say it nicely.
It's not
some,
there
some,
for.
some characters that are there specifically to induce people to buy it because they see themselves
Yeah.
in the thing.
Oh,
some
God.
affectation on the part of the people. Then that's
Star Wars was guilty
Yeah.
of that too in Battlefront 2, the multiplayer game that came out.
Yeah,
and
well,
they
maybe,
locked everybody to fucking.
we can just see how this. We can see how that would be the opposite sort of tendency, right?
Yeah,
Its
yeah,
purpose is no
definitely.
longer to serve the game, perhaps even to the exclusion of the outside world. It's instead to serve the outside world, perhaps even to the
course.
detriment of the game, right?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would even say, that this new
Yeah.
Battlefield that I'm enjoying is like maybe a little bit on that side of it. It's just almost like a consequence of the industry now. But which is why when something comes out that it goes against that grain, we fucking talk about it so much.
Yeah.
And we blow it. Like Elden Ring is coming out. We know it's
Yeah.
going to be amazing. And
Yeah.
fucking Miyazaki, if that whole shit about gatekeeping is true, like ultimately it's Miyazaki standing there like this. Like he's the ultimate. It's all him. It's his decision. It's his games. And we don't agree with that, obviously, because it's stupid and not true. But
I don't really like if your fucking complaint is that you have been excluded from buying something, you know, that capitalism isn't working as efficiently as you'd like. I fucking am happy to tell you to fuck yourself.
Yeah,
You're an
yeah.
idiot, you know?
even though I haven't, like, I haven't beaten nearly, and I've only beaten, I think, Bloodborne and Demon Souls on the PS5, not the original.
If
But,
the argument is the
I
game would
c- I
be
couldn't-
better that way, then that's a good argument I'm willing to listen to. But if
Right.
your argument
is that people
it
are
should serve
locked out
me,
of it or can't
you know,
play, yeah, exactly.
then fuck
yeah.
you.
I
Good,
can't
like-
even beat. I haven't beaten Sekiro for. I'll never beat Sekiro. I mean,
just to
fuck,
say though, in
maybe,
keeping
but,
with what we're saying
doesn't
here,
mean it's a bad game.
The purpose of the
Fuck.
thing is its own inner logic, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Perhaps
yeah.
even to your detriment, you know, and nothing can be
Yeah.
good for everybody just because of the fact that we're all different individuals, right? Everything is
enough.
received according to the mode of
Well,
the
it's like,
receiver,
yeah,
they say.
I'm not gonna play My Little Pony or Nintendogs. That's just the
No,
same
no,
fucking
no
thing.
doubt, but
Everything
just, you
there's
know,
different shit out there for everybody.
I think
right?
as a strict fact, buddy, the fact that we're individuals means we receive concepts, even universal concepts, according to our individual modes, right? The possibility of
right.
something being the same for all of us is just,
impo-
it doesn't
yeah, it
exist,
doesn't
right?
work, yeah.
It can't be.
Everybody-
So just that pursuit I'm trying to tell you can only be for one sake,
Yeah,
you know?
fair
And
enough.
it's not the good of the work,
Fair
right?
enough. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and I think this is interesting because if we're saying that fucking acts of world building can become propagandistic by trying to achieve some goal out in the world, what does that mean about straight up fucking propaganda? Is it not an act of world building at the same time?
I mean, yeah, it
you know what I
definitely
was
can be,
I was just
right?
thinking right now about, man, you know, think about
Didn't
like
the
when you
Soviet
turn on the
Union
news.
do that shit?
Of course, but you know who does it fucking worse? Straight up way worse and more efficiently.
America?
Now, here, in our fucking day-to-day lives, turn on the news, watch anything about COVID,
Yeah.
watch anything about elections,
Elections,
buddy. It's
yeah.
a thick
Oh.
gauze, firstly, a thick layer of insider fucking words, like cues that immediately set people off, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
We don't even have to recite them. They're all too clear for us to know, right? Like, they're all too clear for us not to know. That is
Right,
a whole
right.
set of fucking insider words that are deployed in order to fucking construct this like fucking. It's not like when you look out of your eyes at the world, you don't just see the world anymore. You see it qualified by this thick layer of fucking expert
goop
advice
over your
and
fucking
supposed
eyes
data
and-
science,
ugh.
etc. Right? Like
Yeah.
physical facts take on a different quality to you. They occur within a different world, and that's only because you've been subject to this fucking ideological act of world building, right? Like you literally
Scary, man.
exist within something, like within that magical construct, as Tolkien would call it.
Oof.
You are fucking at the ass end of that,
It's so much worse than
of
in
that
video
act
games.
of world building
Yeah.
having an external effect. You know
Isn't
what
that
I mean?
like social engineering?
Yeah, I guess so. But
Fuck.
like it's taking you as its matter in a sense, but it is an
Yeah.
act of world building, I guess.
God,
you
that's
know?
awful.
Yeah, man. It is awful. Yeah. It is awful.
Worse than some of the worst world builders in gaming.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Way
Yeah.
more
And
fucking putrid and
Think,
vile.
think of all of the ways in which this is verified. Like it's got its own internal logic and systems that are served to the detriment of even its constituents like us.
yeah, yeah.
To keep this
Keep the cycle
the inner
going.
logic of the thing.
Keep the oligarchs happy and
I don't even know necessarily what human beings it's keeping happy,
Right.
but it has its own internal logic, right?
Yeah.
And to the detriment of everything else, human beings be damned. Like that is the
Wow.
internal logic, you know? It's a fucking perverse work of art in a sense, right?
So what do you like propose if Miyazaki or Hideo were involved in real life politics? What would things look like?
Well, I don't know if they. I think like the difference
in, like-
between fucking making a work of art is that you have to selfishly seek its good. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
probably somebody
Oh,
who
so
does that
then,
may
yeah.
not be a good politician.
Yeah.
I would
Oh,
think.
no, not
I think
nowadays.
it's-
No,
I think
no,
like
no.
I just generally
Those
like.
guys get pushed out now. They don't exist anymore. I don't think.
I just mean to say like, is it not almost it's almost like a
antithesis to the
contrary
fucking-
impulse.
Yeah, yeah.
you know? Not to say there can't be a polymath who has both of these virtues, but I think the virtue of governing well or even prudence, seeking your own good, never mind other people's, like it fucking is divergent from the good of seeking, the good of the work.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like in knowledge, you fucking just seek the truth of the object understood, and despite its relationship to you, even if it fucking harms you. in
Yeah,
some
even if it
capacity,
fucking
right?
destroys you at the
Yeah.
end of it or whatever
Yeah.
the case may
Yeah,
be.
and speculative philosophy or something, right? Yeah, so I think that's an interesting binary to consider. Yeah. We just need to not have fucking... I think, though, another consideration. A while back we talked about this fucking stuff about how intoxication, dissolves these layers of ideology.
Mhm.
Because these are imposed conventionally. These like ways of looking at the world, they're not like naturally. They're not ontologically present. They occur because some guy puts them in your head.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
fucking the first casualty rather of intoxication is that social layer of meaning.
Yeah.
It just dissolves, right?
It strips away.
And you're
your
just
true
left
inner
with more
self
brute
comes out more and
fucking,
more.
at least before that point of no return, which probably nobody should seek in good conscience, right? But at least before that, there's a rawness to your perception
Oh,
that
for
otherwise
sure,
is
for
inhibited
sure.
by these veils of
Social
fucking socially
factors and,
constructed meaning. Yeah. It's a funny thing, like...
That is funny. That's why we do gaming under the influence.
Yeah, but what we fucking talked about in there too was how this is also a necessary part of being a human being, right? Like, how do you do language without this? Language is essentially me like grafting fucking constructed meaning onto a flapping of my tongue and conveying it to you. Boom,
Yeah.
boom, right? Like, this is necessary to some extent, right? So I guess at the end of the day, it's not the act of propagandizing on the part of a politician or a political fucking apparatus, excuse me, because politicians probably shouldn't exist either, career politicians. But that's not the
Useless
problem.
fuckers.
It's that it doesn't serve the good, I suppose, right? Our political world building is faulty. Not that it exists. I'm not a liberal.
I guess you're saying it's just defective.
Yeah, it
Like,
serves.
it's fucking-
It serves just like a fucking,
broken
just like a
right
video
now.
game made for profit. Like,
Yeah.
its T-Loss is misfiring. It doesn't serve the common good. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awful.
World building, though, like, it's an interesting correspondence, I thought. Some fucking thing I read on Twitter today stoked this train of thought, and
Yeah,
fucking,
we've
it's
always
worth
said
pursuing,
we,
man.
want to kind of focus on world building as like our thing. Like world building is at the end of the day can categorize everything we want to say.
Yeah.
You know?
And even then, like, a world, man, what is a world? A world is not only like Tolkien-esque, like fucking Middle Earth, man.
Yeah.
A world is an ordered multitude. Any ritual, any like even a syllogism, like a sentence. There's a world is an ordered multitude. It could be two men in a room, depicted for the purpose of fiction, like fucking what's his name, Cormac McCarthy's Sunset Limited. There, just two guys talking in a room about one
Yeah.
guy killing himself. And he's built a world, right? He's built a fucking, though it's depicted at this granular, like, individual level, he's built a fucking metaphysical place where people exist according to their fucking own lives and according to rules outside of them at the social and fucking all of these other levels.
Yeah, yeah.
Just to say this is presumed in everything that anybody depicts. And,
Yeah.
you know, in that sense, yeah, man, focusing on this can really let you express any kind of like fucking, you know, approach to reality, you know, where art intersects with it, I think, right? Yeah.
Too often.
Yeah.
More often than it should.
Yeah. Tolkien said
Must be,
fucking,
but-
he said Lord of the Rings, man, is just about this examination of how, like, fucking subcreation, like humans and their causality, like their attempts to affect the world, whether they do so, like, in service of a rule or logic that either serves or is more important than them, or whether they do so perversely, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like Sauron and fucking shit.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. The
Look at
orcs
that.
are literally elves that have just been warped into monsters, you know, against their own natures, right? Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Sauronic propaganda. Yeah.
Mike, do you read thesauruses or no?
No.
No,
I do
Mike,
not.
Mike doesn't read a thesaurus.
I make up words a lot of the time.
It's like,
Yeah.
sounds smart. Yeah, it's the vocabulary of me.
Nah, I just made it up.
Made it all up.
I'm actually a retard.
Yeah.
I just made it all up.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I'm not
So
supposed
we
to
do
say
things
that.
around here. Ah, who cares? Fucking whatever. I'm so over that one, honestly. I'll drop it on once in a while on the podcast, and
Look at this guy.
we don't have to say it incessantly, but
No. That's
you
a technical
know,
meaning in any case.
yeah, right.
Yeah, but the bosses in Nier are pretty cool too. Nier's fucking world building, man. Like,
Bizarre.
you know, even though it, you know, explicitly considers questions of the fucking soul and this and that kind of shit, like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, what it unconsciously says about the world with its depictions, it's kind of like, you know, I like the fact that it brings up these questions, but it's goofy. Like, so these
I
guys
mean,
like they
yeah,
separated their
it's-
body, but then the bodies, like, they got a new soul. Oh.
Yeah, fuck. It's a little bit
And
of
the
that
robots got souls, too.
Japanese
It's
campiness,
like, yeah.
I guess, that cheesiness, right?
What the hell's going on? What kind of metaphysics is this?
Yeah.
You
Wouldn't
know?
even be able to tell you.
Yeah, me neither. I bet the guy who made it probably can't either. But again, it's interesting that, you know, I like the format. I like the approach to things in this
Yeah.
manner. I don't have to agree with what they depict, right? It's like that R. Scott Baker book, fucking The Nihilist and His Fantasy. Like, who cares if you agree? It's just the fact that ideas are fucking being implanted in matter. That's what makes it art, right? You know? Does it serve its own inner logic? Yeah, like, it makes sense on its own terms, right?
Yeah,
Like, even
exactly, yeah.
Despite
As
the
a thing on
criticisms
its
I'm
own,
trying-
it's
yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What was that fucking... I always forget the title of that game, and it's sticking in my head right now. The one where you sort of use the gravity to throw shit.
Gravity Rush.
No, sorry, not that one. The one where the RPG where you like throw around cars and things and shit.
Scarlet
It
Nexus?
was that Scarlet Nexus?
Yeah.
Okay. And then there was Tales. I feel like I'm forgetting one.
Nier.
No, there was another one.
Another?
Maybe not. I
Another,
don't know.
like, double A RPG.
Like another JRPG we played this year that was action combat.
Hmm.
I could be wrong though. I could be just
Can't remember.
Tales,
Gravity was
Scarlet-
definitely Scarlet Nexus. Remember?
definitely Scarlet Nexus.
Yuito
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
gravity
yeah.
powers. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Fuck.
Yeah.
I surprisingly I got that Nintendo email today that showed the games you've
Yeah.
been playing, and I played like 48 hours of Bravely Default 2. What the fuck?
It's a
I
lot,
didn't even
man.
beat it.
Yeah. Did you get
Jesus.
far?
I think so. I was at least. I think I was more than halfway. I don't know. I gotta jump in and check. It's pretty difficult.
Yeah, it's too much
I
grinding.
might just
involved.
drop it down easy and maybe just blaze through it after. I don't know. It's a fucking
I don't know
hard.
why they have to
game.
do that.
Fuck.
I wish they didn't even have a difficulty. They just made it balanced, man.
Just
Like,
made it. Yeah, whatever it was, like a Souls
in
game.
those games, like, what the hell?
But then you know that it's finely tuned, right? Like they'll take the care to figure that out because you don't want to botch it. It's integrated into the experience,
you.
like you said, right? If you have difficulty options, it kind of just throws it. Well,
Doesn't
this
it
is
feel, though,
normal,
like-
and it ends up being whatever it is. Normal in some games is hard. Normal in some games is a walk in the park. It doesn't mean anything. Like
It doesn't
this
mean
is
shit,
normal.
yeah.
This is how you should play it. Okay, then
Should
just
just
make
be
it
its
like
own-
that.
its
You
own
know?
inner
Fuck.
logic, exactly.
But what do we know, right?
I think though, like, man, grinding in JRPGs to me seems,
that's silly. Yeah.
it seems like, you know, it's difficult, all right, but it's not difficult in a manner that, like, you've long since appreciated whatever it is you're doing, and it's been reduced to just mechanical,
yeah,
tedious
it's
nothingness.
so dated,
And you're just
man.
sitting there, just going through it, just
Yeah.
wishing it was over to get
It's-
back at the meat of the thing. And to me, these days, I can never pull through that. Never.
I couldn't
Never.
either, and that's why I'm happy about
When
it.
I-
We talked about this like last week about how the
Yeah.
Pokemon games have XP share.
Yeah.
So why should you fucking have to grind your whole party separately. Like,
I don't know. I'd be interested to hear an argument that is good for the fucking game. Like, in the same way we say, like, in Souls, you have to learn the enemy patterns to fucking appreciate their natures through the medium, right? Like,
I don't know.
But can you make that case with this? I'm saying it's explicit you can't, because
I'm trying to.
You're just now mechanically. Some games even give you the option for it to literally happen automatically.
Yeah. They have like auto battles and shit like that. I mean, I don't know. I think maybe in a Pokemon game you can make the argument that the game's concept is the depiction of, you capturing these monsters, and by physically using each one of them to battle, you're sort of like training them actually individually. I don't know if that matters.
Yeah, I guess, but like I always, then how come then does your character have to take a shit in the game?
Yeah, I know. Like Christian's actually playing Red Dead 2 right now, and that game was I loved Red Dead 2, but one of the most egregious examples of like brushing your horse, oiling your guns. You can fucking take a bath. If you don't take a bath every once in a while, characters actually like call you out, and they're like, you smell like shit. And that's cool and all well and good, and that actually kind of contributes to the world building, but like it's too much.
No, it's a bit much.
It's too much.
I played 100 hours of that game, and I didn't finish it yet.
You know what? I did too.
I don't think I'm close
to it.
I think I'm like 3/4 of the way.
It's so long, man. And when you think it's gonna end, it just gets even longer. You go to the fucking you get shipped off to a fucking island. I can't remember what it was called, like Guam or something. Guam. And then you spend a little part there where like you have another camp and you're like prisoners, you're doing the shit, and then you bust out and you have to leave. It's just so like there's so much.
Oh man.
And I loved it, but then even like the epilogue after was like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
It was good. It's just too much for me. I just lost. Yeah, it's too much.
I don't like that meandering.
What opinion are you talking about, Christian? I think we're too delayed to hear his...
That's all right. Oh, yeah, it's 20 seconds late.
Is it? Yeah. Fucker.
Comes here 20
we'll
seconds
see you
later,
in the future.
Yeah, this is when Emil there transforms into that Yoko Taro skeleton.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. For some reason. I don't know, man. Japanese games, just shit like this happens all the time. You're like, yeah, all right, I guess. You transformed into a little boy skeleton to use your sister's skeleton powers. That's
Yeah, it's pretty fucked, eh?
That's cool.
They have the weirdest ideas, man. And they actually, like, it's like they follow through with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck.
Kane's like, turn me to stone to seal the door. And then he just turns her to stone, but the whole door turns to stone too.
Yeah. Fuck. Yo, that was sick, though. I remember fucking...
It was.
This guy watches South Park. Did you ever see that episode with where they're sitting on the toilet wrong?
No.
You know the tank?
Yeah.
You're supposed to sit on it facing forward so you can like read on the tank.
Hey, I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, right.
Sounds like a good time.
Oh, fuck. Instead of like having your hands just leaning there, you got the little thing. You sit your shit down on it.
Yeah, your laptop. You do some work.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, of course. Well,
South Park's good shit.
I guess that's enough for this topic for today. We've been at it for 40 minutes. I implore you, keep your eye out in the world for world building.
World building.
When there's some shit being presented to you in excess of the fucking realm of ontological real things, then
that's where the good stuff happens. Yeah. The ripe for fucking,
some asshole is extending
yellow bananas.
His world to you outside of its legitimate context. Yeah.
What are we looking forward to in that sense? Honestly, okay, definitely, obviously, we know Elden Ring, and I just want to say, I don't know why, but the new Pokemon game I'm excited for. The Arceus Legends looks sick.
That's cool.
I hope it's good. I don't know. Fuck.
I hope so,
just
too.
An idiot, but
I'm mildly excited for that.
But Elden Ring, for sure, we know that'll be a banger. I can't see that going any other way but bangers.
That'll be good.
Right?
What
else, man? What else is there next year? Just real quick, like
I really can't think of anything else.
I know. Maybe we got to pull up the. It's almost time to pull up the what's coming out in this year.
Oh,
man.
well, all the ones we just talked about. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Holy.
We don't know the release dates on any of that. It's all.
Yeah, true. We did
none
this
of it's
last
proof.
week.
Yeah, it's all just.
See how bad my memory is.
It's all just floating in the void, man. We don't know any dates coming up, even all that stuff.
Yeah, everything's so uncertain, eh?
Yeah. I guess it requires it nowadays.
Plus, we don't really pay too much attention. We're
No,
fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Just when it comes in, we're ready. Drop it on us, and
there you go.
Good to go.
What do you say we shut her down?
I think so.
Thank you guys very much for tuning in. It's been a fucking good time. What do you say, Alex? Anything else?
I don't know. I have so much. I need to cut it off at some point, or I'll just keep going. I can
It's
just fucking flap away,
What else do you got?
Now fucking. Now you put me on the spot. Pokemon, fucking Elden Ring. I want to play Kina, man. I might boot that up this weekend. I think Kina is just like sticking to my brain a little bit. But I don't know. Everyone's talking about Halo Infinite. We should play it just for research, eh? What do you think?
Sorry?
Just play Halo Infinite for some research?
Yeah, maybe we should. Yeah.
Just strictly for research. Christian thinks it's good, I think. Christian, tell me about Halo Infinite. Actually, Gianluca was playing it, and he said it was good, but I'm going to ask him about that tomorrow.
All right.
I think strictly the campaign. Boot up Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, that was a good one.
I'm gonna finish off Nier and Valheim.
And finish Nier Val. You know what? I booted up Tales the other day, actually. I want to fucking clean that up. If we are talking about strictly games we need to clean up for this year, Tales for sure. The Pokemons, it doesn't matter. I'll eventually get through. I'm playing both at the same time now. Like a fucking, I'm just a mess. I'm playing Sapphire and, not Sapphire, Pearl and Diamond at the same time.
Cool, man.
I don't know why.
Why the fuck not?
Yeah, just why the fuck not? But yeah, Tales for sure. And I don't know. What do you got? Valheim?
That's it. I'm gonna finish those games, Valheim and Nier, hopefully before Christmas.
And Nier, yeah, you could do it. Nier, you could do it. It won't be that long. Yeah, maybe I should fucking boot up Nier and finish that too.
Yeah, man.
Fuck it. Let's get back to it.
Let's cut her off there. I'm gonna go.
All right.
Good evening, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in.